Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm on the beach. Doesn't it look like it?
Yeah, don't believe it one bit. Not on that
Well,
beach.
it is great to be here today. It is Friday the 11th.
Yep.
I know a lot of people start celebrating Valentine's Day. I know we're going out tonight for ours, and got a lot of college basketball this weekend. But most importantly, Michael, we are here for Experience Friday Live again. It's so awesome to be here. Awesome to have Ian Barkin going to come up with us today as well. But Michael, tell our listeners today why experience matters and why we even spend the time doing this show.
Experience makes or breaks a company. That's all there is to it. You can either invest in experience, and that's employee experience, that's customer experience, that's vendor experience, that's the culture of your C-suite. It's everything in your experience ecosystem. You can invest in it and reap those rewards, or you can ignore it and you can waste so much time, so much energy trying to make up for all the pain that is caused by not investing in experience. So we're here to gather all those experts in all those different parts of the ecosystem so we can help companies reap the rewards of getting better.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, I don't want to take any more time. We're really excited today. Based in Tampa, Florida, Ian Barkin is an entrepreneur, author, podcaster, LinkedIn learning instructor, and speaker on all things related to digital transformation and the future of work. He's the founder of multiple companies, and also serves as an advisor and investor around the world, and really, really focusing on the future of work. So, without any further ado, we are going to bring Ian to the stage. Hey, Ian.
Hello, Shawn. Hey, Michael. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
You're doing great.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
It's awesome. It's awesome to have you here. And I know I've actually been on listening to a couple of your audio rooms this week, and some really great things taking place. Hey, Ian, we're going to just jump right in with some questions. And simple one: what drives your passion for the future of work?
It's just simple. It's not a big grand question at all. Thank you very much, Shawn. I fear what comes next in your question order. What drives my passion? It's a great question. And it has sort of a two-part answer. It has sort of like a then and now sort of answer, and I think we'll expand on this too. But in the past, it was because I just really like tech and innovation and cool shiny stuff. Right. And the future of work was a lot about cool shiny stuff. It was a lot about using automation and AI and ML and chatbots and cobots and all sorts of other whiz bangery. And I thought that was just cool. And I got a chance to actually tinker with that stuff, play with it, build companies that helped enterprises use it. So I really like that more and more in my wizened gray old age. I'm coming to appreciate that the future of work means a great deal more than that. And that's what drives my passion for the future of work. It is technology coupled with humanity. It is a growing focus on truly important concepts like diversity, equity, and inclusion, prosperity and opportunity to a global community. And that was a live audio event I ran yesterday that you were kind enough to drop in on. And so that's what has me excited about the future of work is if done correctly. It's not about the few having more of the pie. It is about us sharing the pie more equitably and giving opportunity to those who have capacity, they just don't have access to be players in this world of the future of work.
Well, I think you're speaking to mine and Michael's heart both there, right?
Cool.
And love it. And so we're going to jump in with this quote from this wise person, and then I'm going to let Michael just take away and have some conversation as well with you. But there's this quote: "In the world of digital transformation, it's the people, stupid," said by the none other Ian Barkin.
This guy, isn't that respectful? Isn't
Yeah.
that just
So, Michael, take it away.
I mean, it's a great quote, and it obviously comes back from "It's the economy, stupid," right? And
You got it. Yep.
there's a lot of ways you could go with this. So I'm wondering, what's your connect the dots here? How do you connect this statement that you put out into the world with the future of work?
Right. I'm just a huge Jim Carville fan.
Mm.
No, it was. You're absolutely right. It was predicated on for those who don't know, just it was the Clinton campaign when
I mean, if you're over 35, you may not,
you
right?
have no idea, right? Exactly. So
Over
in
30.
my day,
Yeah.
is the way I begin everything these days. It was a way to just
Under 35.
it just distilled down the core tenet that they needed to be focusing on in a political campaign to matter to the audiences they were speaking to. And I liked that it sort of cut through the BS and just focused on the thing that mattered the most. And again, I'd been writing I mean, this was not the first time I had sort of said this, but it was probably the strongest I'd ever said it, which was, I mean, I'd long been saying things like robotic process automation is not about the robot. It's because, again, fascinated with the shiny things, thinking tech is cool, but watching everyone screw it up royally just because they missed the humans through the bot, right? Terrible corruption of the forest through the trees. But they were just so fascinated with the technology, they totally dropped the ball on change management and change control and stakeholder management and all that stuff. And all of that was predicated on the culture and the people and the communication elements. And so anyway, so that was the gist of that, which is just, you ain't getting nothing done if you're focused on like, how can we be digital first, or how can we adopt AI, or the CEO says we need an RPA strategy. That's the best way to begin to fail. So,
But isn't this a lot of hot air, like in the actual world? So you have everybody on their website, they're innovative. Everybody on their website, they're people first company and they're people centric, and everybody has their customer person, their chief of people or whatever, and it's all about people.
yeah.
But then you look at their behaviors and their policies and what has actually happened in the past 2 years in their organization, and they don't line up. So is the same thing true here? Of we can talk about human friendly technology all we want, and we can claim that, but what's really happening, and then what are the barriers? If it's not happening, why the hell not?
Yeah. No. Yes. And yes. It is. It's a lot of lip service. I mean, it's somebody posted this on one of my LinkedIn posts yesterday, but it was, I'll steal the analogy, but I'm really serious about fitness, like health and fitness, because I bought a stationary bike and I bought a treadmill. I put both of them in my house, so you can see that I'm very serious about fitness. Never,
Yes.
barely,
Yes.
never use
Yes.
the damn things.
Yes.
But so you can say
Right.
that you're serious about this stuff, but if you don't walk the talk, and walking the talk manifests in so many different ways that enterprises screw up so royally. First of all, I got to go back to the reason I was smiling when you said you can read their websites and they say a bunch of stuff. Like, I remember my very first job out of college, I was studying some company's website, and when I was done, I just thought, I'm the dumbest person here. I have no idea what that company does. And I've just had this sense of just like fear that everyone else around me was like, oh, that's what they do. And I'm the only one who didn't get it. But everybody's website is just full of gibberish. That's just the latest hype and buzzwords. Nobody knows what they even mean, let alone does them. So that's my website.
Well, okay, so let's go there. I mean, we're talking about the future of work, and
Yep.
we spent a year last year, really, right, Michael, focusing on Mofi's website because what is gibberish? What are you supposed to have? And I love the fact that we just came to this place that, and if you go to our website, Ian, and anyone listening at mofi.co, it says that we are a maverick-minded, human-obsessed company. And I've had people say to us, why would you put that out there? You're excluding people. You know, maverick-minded. Don't you want to work with everybody? Well, the answer is no.
We can't.
We can't, because there's only so much room for crazy in an organization, and Michael will tell you I own crazy in our organization. So as you look at the future of work, and we look at that, no, I want to work with the people that think like us, at least in a way, and we talked some about that, but that have that space. And that's what I'm hearing you say is we're calling bullshit on bullshit now.
We can curse on this show. That's awesome. I am liberated. Thank you, Shawn.
And Michael was the first one that actually said it today, so that's a big one.
This is cathartic. Cathartic. It's funny you use the word crazy.
Say to people, Ian, and to leaders around the future work.
Right. Well, it's funny you use the word crazy. This is another thing that's going to totally date us if you've seen this, but the movie Crazy People with what was his name?
It's not Billy Crystal, right? It was
no.
Yeah.
It was the British guy who was If You Get Stuck Between the Moon and New York City.
It was
Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore. That's it.
Moore.
Yes. Where he totally he's the advertising executive who just loses his mind and then starts to put out ads that are just straight up honest and really raw. Volvos, they're boxy but good. And so that's what I thought of when A, you said crazy people, and B, you said the language on your site. I think you earn more respect and sort of alignment if you simplify it. I talk a lot about. There are 3 clock speeds that I experienced in my life, helping enterprises understand the future of work and adapt the technologies that were in that future of work. The first clock speed was going like this, and that clock speed was marketing, because I could make up any old bullshit tomorrow morning, have it on a website, have it on a brochure, and then have it on a scrim behind a booth at a conference like that. And so we went from things like insight and analytics and innovation and transformation to robotic process automation, to intelligent process automation, to intelligent automation, smart process automation, service automation. We just came up with, when we were coming up with them hourly. So that was the marketing clock speed. The next one was the engineering and actual sort of development clock speed. It takes actually longer to come up with this stuff, to innovate it, to code it, to test it, to make sure that it works. And then there was the third clock speed, and I'll refer to this in the experience thing too. But the third clock speed is the enterprise clock speed. And so when I was working with folks, people would talk about how the space was changing so quickly. And I used to somewhat begrudgingly say, you can't convince me things are changing this quickly when it takes my client 6 months to procure a server on which to host the pilot that they don't want IT to know about, that they're hiding from IT. So that clock speed's going glacial. And so that's, again, that happens in experience and services too, is people can say some magnificent things on their website now, immediately, yesterday. And the changing the enterprise architecture and the fiefdoms and the systems and the policies that Michael mentioned is a heck of a lot harder. And so that's why I think there's a huge disconnect between aspiration and actual, as far as customer experience and service goes. So, and the current actual customer experience, which is probably what's so frustrating about it, is because you're promised the moon and you're sitting in like a damp ditch, and you're just like, son of a bitch, this is really annoying me that I'm picturing this as my sort of proactive, aware, data informed, predictive experience journey. And yet I'm here giving the third person my account number because none of their systems are connected. I was waiting forever. they're not going to solve my problem anyway because their systems don't allow them the autonomy to actually do anything. So that disconnect, I think, pisses consumers off. Should at least pisses me off.
Well, and it's a matter of giving a crap, right? So like, I get it. Well, I mean, worker shortage. All right, you go to a restaurant, you're short workers.
Yep.
I get it. No problem. I understand the business end of it. But why do you have to act like you don't care about me in that moment if I'm your customer?
Yes.
Right? A worker shortage doesn't mean you get to treat me poorly.
Right.
It means you get to give me information about what's happening. You apologize as a leader of a business and a human. You set some realistic parameters about what could happen and what can't happen and why. And you let the customer decide.
Yes.
Right? You know, if I go to a store, I'm out of a product, there's nothing you can do about it, but you do have the capacity to help me think through it.
Yes. I mean,
so, you know, just navigating that, right? From a training perspective, my wheelhouse, like there are things you can do to avoid all this, to keep this from erupting.
Right.
But we're not doing that.
And there's a fear of transparency, I suppose, that keeps like, don't tell them because we don't want them to know. We want it to seem like we got our shit together. But in the act of creating that veil of having our shit together, you know, we can all see through that. And so they're not giving us enough respect. I think we should sort of craft a term right here on the show that you guys should take credit for. But in the spirit of liking shiny things and thinking gold is really cool, I think we should call it like, I don't know, like a rule of gold, or maybe like the golden rule.
Oh, there you go.
You guys can. And I just came up with that. It was literally just right out of the. But the idea of treating your customers as you would like to be treated seems like a pretty basic, easy tenet to follow.
So, and our listeners know this. You live right down the road from my very first corporate experience. I worked for Disney, right? So I tell people I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? Because I go then and I leave Disney after almost 7 years, and I go to another corporation, and I think, why don't they work like I just worked, right? Like that's what I knew. And
right.
So that transparency thing in this future work. So say I'm a leader here, a CEO of a hotel, and I'm going to use a real life example here. And I would love to hear what you would say to this future work. And I'm a general manager of a hotel in Denver, Colorado.
Here we go.
Michael remembers this.
I was like, oh snap. Okay.
And we only have 50%. We only have 50% of our staff, and we know that. But we choose to book our hotel because corporate has told us we need to go to 100% capacity. And we don't have valet staff, but we're taking valet cars, and it's a business hotel. And 8:00 in the morning, 10 business people are trying to get out in their valet cars. There's not a valet person. And people are literally getting their keys from the valet cart and going down into the basement to find their car.
That's outstanding.
What would you say to leaders, to corporate leaders, how would you handle that?
Right. I mean, and again, I guess that's sort of a classic disconnect between sort of enterprise corporate policies and reality on the ground. And I mean, what would I say to them? I'd say to wake up and get out there, like, sort of distribute yourself amongst the actual properties and see what's really going on, because only then can you come back and have a meaningful sort of design discussion about, well, okay, what do we need to do differently? You either change the metrics, we're not going for full capacity, or you come up with creative things like, you know, this is self-valet now, and you get 15% off your room if you go put your car in the basement and come back up, but you sort of deal with
Self-valet.
Yeah. Self. Oh, did we lose
Self-valet, also known as parking.
Yeah.
But framing it in a way that people would understand and appreciate it with a service recovery model, right?
Right. And that's it, right? We're all in this together, right? And again, it's transparency. Like, look, it's the current situation is such that we don't have the staff that we would otherwise need to deliver the service that we want to be delivering to you. So, we're all in this together, and here's the concessions we're making. Here's the understanding we would ask you to have. And if they don't meet in the middle somewhere, then you choose to stay somewhere else, and we understand that. But we're not going to lie to you and piss you off, because that creates a long-term stink that's hard to get out.
Yeah. And I think that's, at least for me and Michael, that's the frustration for me. I worked in the service industry. I worked for a company that did amazing guest experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually preach this sermon, Michael will tell you, pretty often. As leaders, there's three things, in my opinion, you need to do. You need to be transparent. You need to build relationships, and you need to love people. And if you don't do those, and if you can't do those, you don't need to be a leader.
Right.
And treat your guests that way. That thing called that golden rule that we just made up, right? Here.
Right.
We'll take credit for that.
Totally.
So, last question for you, Ian, before we wrap up the show today. What experience trends and future work trends do we need to be paying attention to for 2023 and beyond?
God, I'm glad you're throwing really simple, discrete ones at me. This is great. So a few things. One, as I said, the future of work to me is about taking advantage of the tools we have today. We have a massive training infrastructure, all sorts of massive online, open courseware that democratizes development of skills for many, but there's still a digital divide, and so there needs to be an emphasis on bridging that gap. And getting out to communities domestically that have struggled with access to opportunity, get out to international communities, to refugee communities, there's some great work going on around impact sourcing to give work to people where the work, actual like living wage work, transforms communities. So those are some things that are coming. I do think we need to stay with the democratize comment, we need to democratize the ability to understand and apply technology. It's why you're seeing such an energy around this concept called low code, no code, or the citizen developer. I sort of simplify it as it's business people wanting to matter. They just want to have a seat at a table that has become progressively software oriented. And so we need tools that allow the people who understand the process, who understand the customer's challenges and what delights the customer, give them a chance to be designing and building and at least prototyping the tools and techniques you can use to transform the experiences and the products and the services that you offer. So I think those are some major trends. And then Shawn, you stopped in on it. I think something that I'm really passionate about, and it's unfortunate that it took some events of the last few years to wake a lot of enterprises up to it, but the concepts of diversity, equity, and inclusion, fairness to people, and giving opportunity to a the full spectrum of individuals that could make up a corporation. The future of work is colorful. It's not just technical. And so I think those are things we need to all champion and work on helping to develop. So,
yeah, and you can't get rid of humans.
And you can't. Oh, we're never going to get rid of humans. That's been a fascinating one. Sorry, I'll do this quickly. But in the early days, when I was an RPA guy, when I was focusing on robots constantly, the press, anybody who talked to me cared about two things. They wanted to talk about how incredibly powerful and magical artificial intelligence is. Thank you, IBM Watson commercials. And the second thing they wanted to talk about was how doomed we all were as a species, right? How all of our jobs are going to go away.
Yeah.
But but the history doesn't play it out, right? There's a lot of jobs we do today. I mean, hell, but we're all doing right here, this didn't exist. And this isn't totally our job, but it's the things that we do for our jobs didn't exist 100 years ago. And so many jobs today are predicated on what technologies allowed us to do in the services and the design and the web hosting, and even like in the green energy space, all sorts of stuff. Technology makes new jobs. The only challenge there is just the speed, back to the clocks again, but the speed at which we're evolving. Is it too fast for sort of generational replacement? So do we in a career need to have multiple jobs, and therefore we need to be comfortable with change and comfortable with reskilling, because it's not just my dad did one thing and I do a different thing. It's I'm going to do 4 different things in the course of my career. And so, but I'm human. I don't know if that was clear. I thought I'd just share that with you. And
yeah, but to your point, there's even an equity and inclusion issue within that of who has access to be able,
totally.
which group wins when change is happening that rapidly.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
If you look at the Industrial Revolution and who benefited and who didn't, and how those jobs evolved, and you could rise of the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
This is a whole nother conversation. I know it's time to go, but if you look at what you were talking through the lens of equity and inclusion with, that's a whole nother thing.
Well, we'll get Ian on the Combustion Chronicles with us, Michael.
There you go.
It's a fascinating topic. It came up in the live stream yesterday. I was speaking to founders of Black professionals in intelligent automation, and they were saying that it's often the diverse that are doing the entry level positions that are more prone to automation. So therefore, as you say, it's not equal who is impacted by the application of technology.
But if you look at the need not to no longer need higher education to be able to make beyond a living wage, then that does skew into people that don't have opportunity.
Right. Absolutely.
You don't have to code. You don't have to have a college degree, right?
Yeah.
So sorry, that's another soapbox.
Well,
stay tuned, everyone.
This is a passion for all of us. So
yes.
Well, Ian, thank you so much. Best place for people to get a hold of you, I'm assuming, is on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, man. I'm living on LinkedIn right now. I'm having fun with the Creator Accelerator thing, putting a lot of content out. And who knows? I might become a TikTok star next week, but not yet. I'm a LinkedIn guy.
Well, awesome. Well, hang out while Michael and I close up, and we'll be back to say bye to you once we finish. So hang out there. Awesome. Well, Michael, awesome. That was so good. For those of you that are wanting to know how to get a hold of Michael and I, you can go to mofi.co or to ShawnNason.com. Always send us an email at hello@mofi.co. As I mentioned, our podcast, The Combustion Chronicles, we'll get Ian over on that the next season as well. Connect with Michael and I on LinkedIn. But most importantly is that if you do play in this experience ecosystem and where experience really matters to you, we would love to have you on the show. Send us that email at hello@mofi.co or DM through LinkedIn to either Michael and I. But Michael, I think that's all for today.
It is.
You have a great weekend, and I will see you later, buddy.
Take care. Been fun.